Hey guys, Josh here. Today we're gonna be talking about my experience building my brand new PC in this tiny little case, the Louqe Ghost S1. If you're familiar with building your own PC, you'll know that generally, if you choose a smaller case, you'll have more limited options when it comes to mounting certain hardware, like fans, external hard drives, and AIOs, just to name a few. You're also going to be compromising a little bit on airflow, as it's such a compact case that all the heat sort of gets trapped inside of it. So why did I choose to do it? Well, to be honest with you, when I first saw the Ghost S1, I just really fell in love with the aesthetic of it. Not to mention how much more compact it is than a typical ATX case and the amount of room that you're saving on your desk. Now, most PC cases I've come across look pretty similar. A lot of them feature either a white or black steel frame with glass panels on the side. So when I saw this case, which is milled from solid blocks of aluminum, it just really stood out to me. The Ghost S1 has a volume of 8.2 liters, which is just really small compared to any other case out there, including my previous case, the NZXT S340 Elite, which came in at 38.4 liters. Looking at them side by side, you can see just how big the ATX case is compared to this one. All right, let's talk about the components that I chose for this build. First off, let's start with the case and sort of deconstruct it real quick. Now, the Ghost S1 is held together by a ton of Torx screws. So there's 8 on top and 8 on the bottom. And when you undo these screws, it allows you to take these panels off. I've seen some people use like a battery powered screwdriver for this, which I definitely recommend if you want to save time. And with the 8 screws out of the way, the top plate sort of just comes off. Then to remove the side panels, you also have to remove the screws on the bottom. Okay, 16 screws later, we can now remove these side panels. And the bottom one will come off too. All right, and what you are left with here is just the front and back panels with this, which is called the spine. Now, kicking off the build, the motherboard I chose is the Gigabyte Aorus B550i. One interesting quirk about this motherboard is that the I/O shield in the back ends up upside down when you finish building it, which is slightly annoying, but I guess it's all right. For my CPU and GPU, I chose to pair the Ryzen 5600X with the RTX 3070, which seemed to be a pretty common setup. Now, the CPU is being cooled by the Noctua NHL12 Ghost S1 edition, which was made specifically for this case. So you'll see that the side panel just barely slides in, and in fact, I had to bend the cooler just a little bit to get the side panel to fit. For RAM and PSU, they're both from Corsair, and it's the Corsair Vengeance 32GB and SF600. Since this is primarily my gaming PC, I felt that 32GB of RAM was more than enough for my needs, and the SF600 has been working fine as well. For storage, I'm using 2 drives. The first drive is a 500GB Samsung 980 Pro M.2 drive that I boot from, and then I also have a 2TB Samsung 870 for extra storage. And this was my first time using an M.2 drive, and I didn't know how fast they were. For example, the drive that I use has a read and write speed of 3,000 megabytes per second. That's 3 gigabytes per second. In comparison, the external drive that I use, which is also an SSD, only has about 500 megabytes per second. Only. So yeah, with those insane speeds, the PC takes about 11 seconds to boot. As far as cooling goes, aside from the one fan that is on the CPU cooler and the 2 fans on the GPU itself, the only fan that this case can fit is a 120mm by 15mm slot at the bottom, and that fan is the Noctua NF-A12. Finally, connecting all of these components to the power supply are these beautiful cables from P-Slate Customs, which are actually made and measured specifically for the Ghost S1. Before I swapped to these cables, I was using the stock PSU cables, which were just so unnecessarily long and really messy. So yeah, these cables definitely changed the look of the insides and probably helped with the airflow from the bottom intake fan. P-Slate Customs also does cables of any length, so if you're building a PC or want to upgrade your existing cables, I'd highly recommend checking them out. You can also customize the design, and their turnaround time is super quick. Yeah, that's basically the PC. As far as putting it together, it definitely took me a couple hours the first time I did it, just because I was a little rusty. The last PC I built was in 2017, and that was my first one ever, so I'm just glad that I didn't break anything in the process of building this one. Okay, let's talk about performance. I've been using this PC for about 2 months at this point now, and it hasn't caught on fire, so I guess that's a plus. But real quick, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Ekster. So you may have heard of Ekster. They make really unique wallets. And both of these wallets feature a mechanism that fans your cards out so you can easily pick which one you want to use. Each of these will hold 6 cards and also comes with a band to expand the wallet if you need to hold more cards or hold cash. Ekster also sells a tracking device that helps you find your phone or your wallet when it goes missing. The cool thing about it is that it's actually solar powered, so you don't really have to worry about charging it. Now let's say I've misplaced my phone. If I double tap this, it'll actually ring my phone. Also works the other way around. If you have your phone but you misplace your wallet, you can actually ring your wallet. Currently, Ekster is offering 25% off until December 26th, so if you're interested or if you want to get a gift for somebody, make sure to hit that link down in the description below, and with that out of the way, let's get back to the video. Okay, let's talk about gaming.
Detonate.
So here are some benchmarks that I ran. In Warzone, my frames are consistently above 144 FPS at ultra settings, and in Battlefield 2042, generally hovers around 100 to 110 FPS on low settings. Let me know if you guys are playing that game, because honestly, it could be better. Launch could be better. And for competitive games like Valorant, this computer has no problem getting above 240 FPS, which definitely takes full advantage of that high refresh display. For temperatures, the components do run slightly warm, but nothing too concerning for me. At the most, the GPU will get up to 75 to 80 degrees Celsius when gaming, which in my opinion is alright. As far as the CPU goes, I've never seen it hit above 70 degrees Celsius. At idle, the CPU runs at 41 degrees Celsius and the GPU at 39. For fan noise, here's a quick sound test of what it's like when I'm gaming. So compared to my keyboard and mouse clicks, you can definitely hear a little bit of fan noise, but to me it's not that big of a deal because I always game with headphones, so I can't really hear it anyway. It definitely is something to consider if you prefer your PC to run silent. If you do mind it and you still like this case, Louqe does sell an additional top hat, which you can either mount on the top or the bottom and mount either 2 more fans to make it run a little cooler, or mount an AIO on top, which will definitely get your temps and noise levels down a lot. All right, so what did I learn throughout this whole experience? Well, I got reminded just how fun building your own PC is and just how rewarding it is. Ordering and customizing all your parts and just putting it all together like adult Legos, it's nice to see that you can build something and get it running. I also learned that my previous graphics card, the 1060, was definitely a little outdated and in need of an upgrade. So I'm really glad that I was able to pick up a 3070. As far as the case goes, if you're somebody who's drawn to this minimal and sleek aesthetic and don't mind compromising a little bit on noise levels and temperatures, then I definitely recommend checking out this case for your next build. It looks super sleek on the desk in any environment, and it definitely has an appeal to it that's different than the RGB setups that you see a lot of nowadays. All right, that about wraps it up for this video. I'll have links to all the components that I use down in the description below. Make sure to hit that like button on your way out and get subscribed if you aren't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.